Hey y'all, what is going on? What is going on? It's your girl, Melba Pearson, Melba from Miami, Melba for Justice, also known as the resident legal diva, and it is time for another Mondays with Melba. So, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so, as y'all know, this is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. It is part of my work as a prosecutor. I am a survivor of domestic violence, not something I talk about a ton, but that is part of my history, which is why I'm very driven and passionate to make sure that people understand how evil this is, and also that people have the resources to be able to escape abusive relationships. So, to that end, I have brought on Dr. Shanda Roberts, who is no stranger to the show, and she runs an amazing organization, Pain to Purpose. And we're going to dive into domestic violence as well as some of the current events surrounding that. And we're going to end with a very special event coming up that I hope all of you can attend. So, Dr. Shanda Roberts, welcome to Mondays with Melba. Wait, I have to unmute you. Hang on.
Thank
There
you
you
so much. My apologies. Thank you again for having me.
Of course, of course. So let's chat a little bit on, you slid into my DMs the other day and shared with me a very, very disturbing video that you saw on Instagram. I'm going to post the link in the comments because, again, trigger warning, didn't want to run right into it and surprise people, especially
Yeah.
if I'm not emotionally prepared. But some in substance, the video showed a former Jamaican soccer player, very famous, who was brutally assaulting his partner in front of their child, and it was being recorded. So when you saw that, Shanda, what were your thoughts, and where do you think the system failed the survivor? Because she apparently had gotten a restraining order in the past to, try and keep him away from her and her child, and somehow that didn't work. So can you share your thoughts on that, please?
Well, first of all, I was hurt, I was mad, I was all of the above because she did what we encourage victims and survivors to do is protect yourself and get a restraining order, right? I went back to read the history because I wanted to make sure I understood what was going on. And apparently or allegedly, there were some issues, I want to say back in March, where he allegedly strangled her. And she strangled her and I believe also assaulted her. So he got arrested. She got a restraining order, and she went on about her life, I guess, waiting for court and everything to happen. While in the process of being on this restraining order being active, he apparently followed her to school to drop off their child and assaulted her again in the school on camera in front of their child, which was so disturbing. He then left out of the school again. He was arrested again and released again on bail. And I was baffled. How can someone violate a restraining order and still be arrested and then still be released out on bail? What are the police or what is the court system waiting on? For him to do something else? Because I cannot understand. And I believe it was in Texas. I believe it was in Texas. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking, but I believe it was in Texas because I was searching also. What state is this?
Mhm.
What are their laws? Like I thought maybe it was a foreign country because this can't be the United States of the America because I
Right,
can't believe
right,
this is happening.
exactly.
I couldn't believe it was happening that could happen. And he got arrested twice. He violated the restraining order, assaulted her again, and got out on bail. So I called you because you're the only person I know that can make this make sense for me.
And the sad part is I can't even make that make sense because, normally the procedure is if, you have a domestic violence incident, it's reported to the police, it goes to the court system, then there's a restraining order put in place. If you violate the restraining order, usually you're held no bond until trial because clearly you're not, number one, not following the court's rules. Number two, you've committed a new crime. And usually that's the thing that, takes your bond away. Thanks for playing. And number three, the whole goal of this is the safety of the community and the safety of the survivor. So I think that is very odd unless there were somehow there, I don't know, systems didn't speak to each other. The prior arrest didn't show up in on the prosecutor's records when they were in court. I can't even imagine that a judge would knowingly say, okay, you abused your partner twice. I'm just going to let you out again to do it a third time. And if the judge did so knowingly, this is just a reminder that in most states, judges are elected. So govern yourself accordingly, Texas, if this is you. So that is definitely, very concerning. I want to actually pivot on the same note as we look at people that are famous and, committing crimes. Diddy. And the horrible, horrible video we saw of Cassie being brutalized by him, and then now learning hundreds upon hundreds of people are coming forward saying that he abused them as well. What are your thoughts on that? And also, what are some tips that you would give folks, especially if they're either attending parties or, now there's an incident that we're realizing that there was a 9-year-old who was also involved in this abuse with Diddy, that, the parents purportedly brought the child for an audition. And at some point in time, the child clearly was separated from their parents and was then abused by Diddy and his team. So, what kind of advice would you give to, families or friends or just folks as they kind of move through this world, especially if they're going to be rubbing shoulders with celebrity or sort of in that world, that sphere?
Well, starting with Cassie, by the time you're in that situation with Cassie, you've been in it probably most of the time a long time. And you have, or hopefully would have had, to have escaped more than once, because as statistics say, victims leave 7 times or attempt to leave 7 times before they leave for good. I don't I wouldn't happen once. I was traumatized when I saw that. It took me back. I remembered when I was abused, and I was in tears when I saw it, because I remember the fear, I remember the panic, I remember the beatings, and it all just reminded me, or I remember what happened when I was being abused, and I felt for her. Like, I felt that fear she had when you thought that you escaped and you got away, and that person caught up to you. You're then left defenseless. Like, now what do I do? Um, so for that situation, what we educate, or try to educate people on, is leaving at the first sign of red flags, the first sign of abuse, because it's a vicious cycle and it keeps happening. And every time it happens, it gets worse. And every time it gets worse, it's harder to get out of. And then we end up in situations like myself or yours or Cassie's, because after a while it becomes your new normal. And you then, okay, this incident's going to happen, we're going to make up, and then we're going to be okay, and this vicious cycle will keep happening, and it's harder to pull yourself out of that. So again, I say, when those before you get into those situations, in the beginning, when you're seeing the controlling, you're seeing the maybe the manipulation, all of those different things that tap you wrong or push you wrong, all of those incidents are red flags, and you need to pay attention in the beginning so that you're not sucked into that relationship and become a victim later on. So
Yeah.
that is what I educate on first. The very beginning, the red flags. Don't ignore them.
Exactly. Always listen to your gut because your gut
Yeah.
never steers you wrong.
Yeah.
And, and when it's not right. And
Right.
I think a lot of times we justify, and not even we, like us, who have been in abusive relationships, but generally it's like, oh, he just acts that way because he loves me,
Yeah.
or, he's just really intense with the way he loves. So,
Yeah.
it's not anything bad. Or there could be financial reasons, like, listen, he pays my light bill. Like, it could be
Yeah.
just as simple as that. And
Yeah.
of course, we saw in Cassie's situation, he gave her a record deal and she
Hmm.
released an amazing album, but there was a reason why there was an album number two. And that
Yes.
was because of the control, the manipulation, and the abuse, that if she didn't do certain things that were incredibly degrading and harmful and hurtful, then
Hmm.
she was never going to get a second album. And even when she did those things, which she did under duress, she was forced, she still didn't get a second album. So
Right.
the reality is, these promises are always empty and the violence just keeps escalating. It
Yes.
never gets better.
Right. And as far as other individuals in situations where it's the club, where it's parties, whatever, my husband always tells me, even to this day, we've been married 22 years, don't ever put your drink down. Don't ever have someone purchase a drink for you, and don't ever put your drink down. He doesn't. If he puts his drink down, he doesn't go back to it, because
Mhm.
you never know what someone or could put in it. Even your food. If you're eating somewhere, if you're somewhere and you have to leave the table for whatever reason, you're not with people you trust. Don't go back to your food. Do not put yourself in situations, and it's not to victim blame. It's just you have to protect yourself. We have to also take precaution, because we cannot put ourselves in situations that could potentially cause harm. So if you're drinking something, if know who you're hanging with, know your party, know your crew. Hang with people you know. When I hang out with my girls, we all go together, we all leave together. No
Good.
one is leaving this club or is party or wherever we are unless we're all leaving together. If we need to go to the bathroom, somebody make sure somebody goes with them. If they're intoxicated or a little bit, inebriated, make sure someone has someone's back. That buddy system, even as children, it works as adults. Make sure you use the buddy system. Everyone should have their location on with each other. If you're going to a house party that someone invited you to, everyone share location, even just for that night, because you need to know where the other person is. So as far as parties and stuff like that, individuals, be careful. Use the buddy system and make sure that you all know where each other are at all times.
Exactly, exactly. Because that was the same thing when I was coming up, college, law school, early days in South Beach when South Beach was really popping. We came together, we left together, and that drink thing is critical because it just is literally like an eyedropper. It's like boom, they come through, whoop, and keep it moving, and just wait. And wait for the drug to take effect. And then next thing you know, oh yeah, let me come help your friend out. I got this, don't worry. And now you have a situation. So definitely always stay vigilant. And I think, and the same thing applies to men too. So
Yes,
don't think, oh, this is just a woman thing. Like,
yes,
these men were a huge majority of the people that got violated by Diddy were men,
yes.
boys.
And
So same thing, drugged, whole thing. So the same rule applies to guys as well.
right, and it's not just Diddy, but I've seen on the news here how women were robbing the men and
Mhm.
luring them back to their rooms, and they wake up, they've taken something, don't know it, and they've been robbed. Men, don't be so quick to go back to a hotel with two women, one man, whoever it is, because that could be a setup too. We got to think sometimes that this may not be a safe situation for me. Don't, even as adults, I know sometimes we party and want to have fun and all that, because but you're meeting new people. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they've been. They could be on America's Most Wanted for all you know and don't know, and you're just taking your whole body and you're giving it to them, and all your guards are down. You know what I mean? So even with men, when it comes to women, everything that's cute is not for you. Just because it has long legs and a short skirt, you could be going into danger. So you have to be careful with that too. We always have to just be cautious when we're especially when you're drinking, because now you're a little inebriated, and now you don't have all of your senses all the time. So you want to make sure that you're not drinking too much, because especially if you can't control it. And if you're drinking with other people, make sure that at least somebody is sober enough to make better decisions.
Absolutely. And the last thing on this point, y'all, please, when you're getting into a ride share, check the license plate.
Yes.
Check The license plate. I could because, there was a horrible case, I think out of South Carolina, where a young, college student got into the back of a black, Toyota, whatever, like, a very common car that is consistent
Mhm.
with rideshare, and she was violated and murdered. I've had instances with my husband. He drives, a black sedan, and folks literally, he'll be like pulled up somewhere, and folks will like come jump in his car and like, oh, aren't you my Uber? And he's like, no. So, luckily he's a good guy, obviously, but if it was somebody with ill intent who wanted to take advantage of the situation, they could
Mhm.
have. There's nothing you can do because you're stuck. So
Right.
please look at the license plate. I mean, that's so basic, but
Yeah. The
people,
Uber app and the Lyft app sends you their car, who they look like, and the tag. So you wanna make sure that you look at all those three things when you're getting I am 48 and I still check all three. I check the car, the
mm,
person, and the license plate. And I call somebody when I get in the car because I need to know where I am, where I'm going, and I'll call you when I get there, or I stay on the phone with them because you just never know. And even though the Uber or Lyft driver is the rideshare driver is listed, some people are when they have plans to do harm to somebody, they're going to do it. They don't care who knows about it. So you have
mhm.
to be careful of the vehicles that you're getting in, and look for the light on the car. There's usually a light that says which rideshare company they're with. So you want just it's all about being alert and paying attention.
Exactly, exactly. So now, as we're wrapping up, let's pivot to the amazing event that's about to happen this weekend, the Survivors Ball. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about the origins of the Survivors Ball and how that influences and helps your work at Pain to Purpose.
Well, our survivors ball was created because I am again a survivor of domestic violence, and I started to heal when I started to share my story, and I wanted other survivors to have that same feeling by sharing their story. So we created the ball for one to give them a day of pampering, to dress them up and do their hair and their makeup, and but also get them prepared and ready to share their story. When I first shared my story, there was someone in the room who was in an abusive situation at that time. And she said that me sharing her story helped her to figure out how to leave that abusive relationship. We stayed in touch for months after that. She finally left. She got her own place. She finished school. And that just made me feel like one person in the room heard my story and was free. So I wanted other survivors, when we share our story, we're helping someone else become free, even if it's one person. So that was the reason for the Survivors Ball. We are celebrating life, we're celebrating moving forward, but even in the same time, we're also giving education and giving information at the ball. There's food, there's drinks, there's dancing, and all of that. But first, and we honor our survivors. We also have someone such as yourself to come and share with us some information on how to stay safe and what to do. And then we also will have another person that we're honoring in the community who's doing the work as well. And then that is mostly the gist of the ball. We don't want to talk too much, but we want to make sure we give out the information and honor those who have survived. We pay respect for those who haven't, and we also give information on how to be safe, how to get out, how to help someone else get out. And it's kind of also, it was fundraiser when we first did the event, but sometimes doing events things change. So nevertheless, we
Right?
but the vision is still the same, and that's to honor survivors, encourage them to share their story and to help somebody else. So it will be October 12th from 2 to 6 p.m. at Las Vegas Banquet Hall.
Wonderful. And I will be dropping in the comments the link to the website so that folks
Yes.
can get tickets.
Yes.
Even if you can't attend, at least purchase a ticket in support of the organization or give a donation, because Pain to Purpose
Yes.
does amazing work with survivors. I have been blessed to be involved with them for the last few years. I am so excited to be the keynote speaker. I'm so honored to
Yeah.
be
Thank you.
able to share, my knowledge, whatever I have, y'all can have, right? Like, and
Right.
anything to be able to help someone escape or at least empower someone to help someone else. Because again, it takes a village. and we got to who got us? We got to get us,
Yeah.
right? We got to have each
Yeah.
other's back. So yeah. So last words of encouragement and ways that people can contact you.
I put down our social media handle here. It is pain the number two purpose 76. That is on Instagram, Twitter, on Facebook. Our website is pain the number two purpose76.org. Our email is info number two purpose 76. I just want to encourage people that, even in dating, even in relationships, that make sure you pay attention to the red flags. I'm not sure if I said this on our last record, our last video talk, that when we're swimming in the ocean, we see buoys, we see red flags, we see orange flags, you see purple flags, you see flags that says there's danger. And if you go past those red flags, you're going to potentially be in danger. Use those same thing in your life when you're dating, even in friendships. Friendships can also be dangerous. Make
True.
sure you pay attention to signs. People will show you who they are. We just have to stop ignoring the signs. I did it. I know people who've done it, and it's because we want to believe that they're good people. We want to believe they're having a bad day. And they could be. I'm not saying write everybody off, but you have to pay attention to the signs that are alarming and that are a pattern. That's definitely the main thing. So get help. There's always help. Melba, I'll give you the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, so they can reach out for help. Any resources that I can give you, I'll make sure information is provided as well.
Thank you for that. And absolutely, again, all of those links and resources will be found in the comments as well as in the body of the description of this show. Please, please, please make sure to keep this information, share it.
Yeah.
If you are in a domestic violence situation, be very mindful about accessing these resources where you do it. So, in other
Yeah.
words, if you know your abuser has access to your laptop at home, maybe this is something you want to look at work, or maybe on a
Mhm.
friend's cell phone or something along those lines. Go to the
Yeah.
library, go to a co-work space, something along those lines. But just make sure to get the information, but keep yourself safe. So, with that, Dr.
Yes.
Shanda Roberts, thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the community. Thank you for sharing your testimony and for being so strong and so brave in the face of adversity, but using that as the power to turn that pain into purpose. You are really living your mission, and thank you
Thank
for all
you.
that you do.
Thank you so much. Good talking to you again.
Great talking to you as always. And y'all take good care, and I will see you next week. Bye.